Hello, hello, hello. What ho! Welcome back to another exciting adventure of Rethinking Revelation on the Ubercast. I'm your host, Travis Finley. I'm just gonna what am I gonna do if I get people on for an open panel? Should I just do Skype? So it's gonna be this. If I start a call, waiting for others to join, ring the group. Alright, so there's the invite there. Okay. Alright. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Welcome back to another exciting adventure of Rethinking Revelation on the Ubercast. I'm your host, Travis Finley. Pop out the chat. Do that. Let me kill the video. Where is the grace? There it is. Alright, that's down. This is this. This is this. Constance! What's going on? Alright. That. There we go there. That's right there. You guys don't need to see. That's a large part of the screen. Why is it like that? Why is that screen like that? Why is that so? Let's do this. Let's do this. All right. Okay, I think we're going to do it this way. Alrighty. Thanks, Lee, for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. Okay, so here we go. This is part 4 of Stop Telling People That the Bible is a Flat Earth Book. Okay. The first thing that I want to say is that most people's honest response is to act like a globe flake baller and just lose all sense of logic and reason and common sense. Just like a globe flake baller will get triggered because they love NASA and they love space and they love the globe and they love science, that they just completely stiff arm and reject any, you can't have a discussion with someone who gets triggered about the shape of the earth. You just can't have a productive conversation. So that's what happens in this discussion with people who love the Bible, right? Now, the one thing that I was really Okay. The one thing that I was really blown away by when I got into the flat Earth community was how many non-traditional Christians there were. Like I met a a I don't know what the term is, a family, a genre, a kingdom of flat Earth Bible believing Christians that I didn't recognize. So I had been a Christian for 35 years. And let's see, 35 into 51 is what, 16? So, whatever. So, I had grown up as a traditional Baptist all the way up until I was in college. And then I switched over to a more Reformed Calvinistic flavor, tradition, denomination. But when I got into flat Earth, there were Christians that I didn't recognize. I'm like, what group of people is this? Like, people who love the law. They're like, what's the term? What's the term for people who are, all about the law still? And I can't even think of the term. There's a term out there that you guys use for each other, but whatever. It was just crazy. It was like New Testament theology. You have to be up on the discussion to a certain extent. Like, there is a mixture of like Seventh-day Adventists and dispensationalists and literalists and Baptists, and Torah observing. Hey, what's going on, Skylar? What's going on, man? Thanks for being here. I'm just trying to get the juices flowing in my head so that I can try to. I'm going to give you a managing moderator role because you know how things go. Skylar, do you have Skype? Because if you want to join, I was going to open up Skype. Forgive me for eating but I'm munchy right now. I've got a mushroom jalapeno quinoa combo. All right. Just trying to see what's going to be the better. I don't think you guys need to see the chat so much. I think I'm going to move the chat off a little bit. All right. I appreciate you being here anyway, man. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, Bill, if you want to join at some point, if you're going to hang around, I will open up Skype at a certain point. But I want to say some things along the way and try to get my juices flowing in this way. One of the questions is, look. One of the characteristics of the Flat Earth community is that we are against indoctrination. We are against blindly accepting the dogma of a tradition. Just because the pastor says it, just because the Bible teacher says it, I believe it. And yet, in my opinion, these reactions that I'm getting from these Bible-loving flat earthers is that they don't realize that they've been indoctrinated. They think that they believe what the Bible teaches, but for the most part, how do they know what the Bible teaches? Because I would say not one of them ever read the Bible without any outside information. Not even I've done that. I've had to eliminate the tradition that I severed myself from, that I eliminated myself, that I ostracized myself. I got a master's degree from one of the top conservative reformed seminaries in the United States, and I can't be hired by any traditional conservative reformed church. No one will hire me because of my views about the Bible. I broke away from. So I've gotten accused, well, you're just, parroting what you learned in school. No, I'm not. Because what I'm saying is completely the opposite of what I was trained to understand and then teach others. Okay? But the challenge that I'm trying to put out for most people to consider, please just consider this. Is it possible that what you believe about the Bible is the result of indoctrination? That you've been told that this is what the Bible says? Have you questioned it? Because that's what started the thread pulling, sweater unraveling ball of fun for me. I started pulling on this thread and it just disappeared. I'm like, where'd it go? Where did that tradition go? When I went back to the Bible and just went to the Bible, that sweater disappeared. It went bye-bye. So, well, thanks for being here anyway, Bill. Like I said, hopefully I'll say something that's productive. And okay, so one of the things that I want to talk about is how to interpret the Bible. And the very basic approach that I'm going to just simply put out there is to allow the Bible to reveal itself to the reader. My Olivia Newton-John album cover just fell off again. So imagine if you were going to start reading the Bible for the first time. Let's just take it for granted that, let's say for instance, like Dave Weiss. Dave Weiss has said that before he got into Flat Earth, he was not religious, he was not spiritual, okay? But now that he's gone Flat Earth, he's now telling people that the Bible is a Flat Earth book, which it's not. David, stop telling people that. But he is open to the Bible as a spiritual text, okay? I'm fine with that. But imagine someone coming into the Flat Earth community as an atheist and as a scientist believer, a scientism believer, right? So now he's going to turn his back on scientism, but he's going to now become influenced by biblicism. It's the same monster. One is religious and one is scientific. But he's just switching indoctrinations. He's been told, I heard, you know what made me look into this? David Weiss's interview on such and such channel, and he said that the Bible's a flat earth book. So already he's been programmed. That person, she or he, has already been programmed by an influential character, proponent of the flat earth science. So he's already been programmed to start reading the Bible a certain way. Okay. One of the things that I've said is that I would love to be able to pay someone to read the Bible who's never read the Bible, who's never studied the Bible, but they know how to research and they know how to study. Okay? So what then I would do is pay that person to full-time study the Bible for a year. I have a prediction. At the end of that year, that person will not think that the Bible is a flat earth book, and that person will not look like your traditional mainstream Christian. Why? because he's let the Bible instruct him as to what the Bible means by what it says, as opposed to his tradition. Okay, we good so far? Hey, what's going on, Maria? You have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights off? All right, well, I'll try to keep that, well, we can all be suspicious of people's motives and people's whatever. Whatever. Whether or not he's a gatekeeper, I haven't found anything yet. And, Maria, it's perfectly fine. I'd be curious, I don't know. I don't think about the maps a whole lot. Maps are a projection. They're not accurate anyway. But the only thing that I've really disagreed with David on is, the flat earth, the Bible is a flat earth book. So, before Bill goes, what I want to try to do is establish one way in which the Bible's language is one of the maxims in Reformed theology is sola scriptura. Sola scriptura. What is the only rule? What is the only guide for faith and practice? As a Christian, I hate these headphones. As a Christian, because they get caught on my lapel, and every time I turn it, I just hate these headphones. Why do you have them right now? You're not listening to anybody. Well, I guess that's true. So if I ever go live on Skype, I'll have to put them in so I can hear people. Okay. Sola scriptura. All right. The thing that I ran up against as I stiff-armed my tradition was tradition. No one wanted to engage me on biblical interpretation. They all wanted to run back to Calvin or Luther or the Westminster Standards. The Westminster Standards, which say in the very first section about the Bible that the only authority for what we believe and how we live as Christians is the Bible. So then if I think the Bible says one thing, but my tradition says another thing, which do I go with? Luther, the guy that nailed up those 95 theses on Wittenberg's door, he went against tradition. He said, it is neither safe nor wise for me to go against my conscience. My conscience is telling me that my tradition is wrong. So that's ironic that I've had the same thing said to me about my views on the Bible as mainstream scientism lovers say to flat earthers. Oh, you're right, but hundreds of years of scientific research and evidence and proof, hundreds of years of science that's been developed and shows that the earth is a globe. You're right, but you know more than Bill Nye the Science. You know more than Michelle Thaler. You know more than you. That's the same response I got when I started to question the Bible. Oh, Travis, you're saying things that no one else has said before. And let's talk about it. Oh, no. We already know that your position is wrong because no one's ever said it before. I got the same flack from both sides. It was ironic. It was crazy how religious zealots and scientism zealots look the same. Okay. So, that's a great definition of faith, though. Right? Faith is not blind faith. Faith is always built upon the character and promises of the person in whom you're placing your faith, right? So if you're going to get married, you have faith in your soon-to-be spouse that she's going to love and honor and cherish and protect her relationship with you, right? You have confidence in her faith. Another word for confidence, because it has the Latin fide in it, which is the Latin word for faith. Your confidence in her character is your faith in her. It's not blind faith. There's no such thing as blind faith. The only thing that is blind about faith at times is what the future is going to bring. You don't know how the future is going to turn out. But as Bill pointed out, the biblical idea is to trust in the promises that have been made by the one true God of the scriptures. That's what faith is. God said it, I trust him. Even though I don't see it yet, even though I don't see the promises yet, because we're going to look at Abraham right now. Even though Abraham didn't see the promises fulfilled, this is all about Hebrews 12, right? Even though they had the promises and didn't see them fulfilled, they still believed, okay? That's what the idea in Hebrews 11 about what faith is. Faith is not just this, oh, I hope that it's going to, I don't know. No. You know the character of the person who's made the promises, and you trust that person, okay? Anyway, so bringing this back around to the Bible's language, okay? This is one of my maxims that I created in my research and in my desire to create these kinds of videos about biblical interpretation. There is a difference between what the Bible says and what the Bible means by what it says. I'm going to say that again. There is a difference between what the Bible says and what it means by what it says, which means you can't take it literally. Okay? So if a person starts to read the Bible at Genesis chapter 1 and he starts taking notes, he's taking notes, Genesis chapter 1, notes here, 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 notes here. The responsible student will take those notes, and then as he goes on and reads and reads and reads and reads and finds something else later on that kind of either saying something different or maybe elaborating or whatever, he might have to go, oh, wait a minute, I think I might have to change my mind about what I wrote about these notes, because what I saw here seems to relate back to this, but this is saying something more than what this did. So now I have to bring those two things together and hold them in evaluation and assessment and determine whether or not they should be equivocated or distinguished. Okay? So the Bible is its own interpreter. The Bible is its own perfect interpreter. That's an assumption that I make, because as I've studied the Bible, I've seen that it is uniform and monolithic in terms of its narrative. All of the authors know the story, and they are all applying the story to their audience in their particular time and place. But they all know the unifying elements or variables in their story. That one unifying element and variable is Torah. Okay? So, we're going to look at an example of what I would like to suggest to you is a clue that the Bible gives the reader that the reader might not understand at first glance. He might not get it at first glance. But what I'm going to suggest to you is this. And this again is... What? I don't know why Uber is sending me this notice of whatever. This is another maxim that I created in order to flesh out this exercise of teaching about interpreting the Bible. The Bible is written in 3 languages: Hebrew, Aramaic, briefly Aramaic, like not even that much. It's in the book of Daniel, and then maybe some hiccups in Mark, where Mark elaborates on what an Aramaic phrase means, but pretty much I think it's just Daniel. I could be corrected on that. But Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. Okay? 3 languages. However, all 3 of those languages are subservient or inferior to another language that they all utilize. You ready? There is one language to rule them all, one language to guide them, one language to reveal them all, and in the light, unbind them. I'll say that again because it's really good. There is one language to rule them all, one language to guide them, one language to reveal them all, and in the light, unbind them. The one language that both the Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek utilize is the language of typology, or symbolism, or metaphor, or allegory. Okay? We need to understand that the Bible uses symbolic language in order to tell its story. That is just completely undeniable. You might disagree in terms of how much of it is symbolic, but you will have to acknowledge at some point that the Bible does use symbolism. Okay, Think for Yourself says, this topic isn't even on the table to begin with. You have a tough time dealing with the fact that we live on a... Okay, can someone out there put Think for Yourself in his place? Because he seems to think I'm a globe flake. Excuse me, my voice cracked when I said that. He, Think for Yourself, he seems to think that I'm a globe flake. If anybody out there in the audience wants to set Think for Yourself straight, please do so. I don't want to have to do that. All right, so here we go. Bill, if you're still here, forgive me for, waxing on and on and on, okay? We're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 22, starting at verse 15, okay? And the messenger of Yahweh called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, by myself I have sworn, declares Yahweh, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven and as the sand is on the seashore. Okay? You see that? This is what I don't like about this particular... Okay, there we go. Maria, I could have deleted him. I didn't need you to delete him. I just wanted you to correct him. Just wanted you to correct him, that's all. So, here's my first principle, okay? That this interaction here in Genesis 22 is a biblical theological motif. That is, that the Bible gives us a theology. The Bible gives us a theology in its narrative, okay? So what 2 things are Abraham's offspring compared to? The heavens and the earth, or the heavens and the land. I will bless you and I will multiply your children as the stars of heaven and as the sand that is on the seashore. So right there, the offspring of Abraham is compared to the heavens and the land, which is the point that I've been making in the point that I actually tried to make on Skylar's live stream the other night. Okay, the metaphor of the heavens and the earth, or the heavens and the land, is a metaphor that the Bible establishes applies to God's people. Abraham is the beginning of the story, right? Father Abraham, he was the first one that was called out of Ur of the Chaldeans and then was told to go into Canaan, okay? He was told that your offspring are going to be like the stars and the sand, the heavens and the earth. So the Bible right here is giving us a motif or a theme of metaphor for God's people. Does everyone understand that? You don't have to agree with me so far. You don't have to agree with me. But do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? So here we have Abraham's offspring as described as the stars. Okay? So now we're going to go to Genesis. I've got to find this right now. Joseph, sun, moon, and stars. Let me just go back to, yeah. Okay, let me do this again. Stars. So now we're going to go to the dream sequence that Joseph had and see that we see the same motif here. Yeah, Genesis 37. Okay? All right. I thought he did one. Okay, there we go. Okay, here we go. We're just going to read this part. I want you to just, one question. Can it be fractal? Can it be both literal and allegorical? That would end up proving too much, Bill, because I'll let you do that. I mean, I'll let you do that. You may do that if you want. If you want to hold them together, but what you then realize is that you're just simply giving me my allegory as well. That's fine. If you want to give me my allegory, you can have your literal if you want. You're going to have problems that I'm not going to have if you take it literally. But if you're going to let me have my allegory, then sure, I'll let you have your literalism. Go ahead. But it doesn't solve anything, okay? But my question is, I was told the Bible was literal. In my own research, I've rejected that tradition. The Bible is not literal. So I don't know what you're basing your belief on the Bible being like. Why do you need it to be literal? I can show you that it's allegorical, but I can't show you that it's literal. I can't. So if you want to say that it's literal, then go ahead and present what you think is literal. But, okay. Can you read me? Yeah, I can see you, Constance. Okay, here we go. So here's Joseph's dreams, okay? So based on what I said before about Abraham and being told that Abraham's offspring are going to be like the stars, if you can count the stars of the heavens, Abraham, that's how many children you're going to have. If you can number the sand on the seashore, Abraham, that's how many children you're going to have. Millions and millions and millions of children. The stars and the sand, the heavens and the land, are representative metaphorically for God's children. Okay? We good? So now here are Joseph's dreams. Jacob lived in the earth of his father. I'm sorry. It says land, but I thought it should have been earth. Silly me. Why didn't they translate this earth? There's no reason. If you do your own independent research on the times Eretz is translated as land and earth, there's no rhyme or reason as to why they translate it as earth sometimes and not other. It doesn't make any sense. They're not consistent. Okay. Jacob lived in the land of his father's sojournings, the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was pasturing the flock with his brothers. He was a boy with the sons of His father made him a robe of many colors, Joseph in the amazing technicolored dreamcoat. It was a rainbow. It was a fractal. When his brothers saw that their father loved him, they hated him. Okay, so we already have this disdain between the siblings. Okay, they already hated him. Now, Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, "Hey guys, listen to this dream I dreamed. It was crazy. Behold, we were all binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf rose up and stood upright, and behold, your sheaves gathered around it and bowed down to my sheaf." Crazy dream, huh? Crazy that. Okay? His brothers said to him, now listen to what his brothers understood. This is what he said. I'm going to do this again because here's my principle. There's a difference between what Joseph said and what he meant. Here we go. Joseph's dream, he said, all we 12, were out in the field harvesting the wheat which came out of the land, and I bound up my sheaf, and you all bound up your sheaves, and in my dream, all 11 of your sheaves bowed down to mine. Isn't that weird? That's a weird dream. Come on, guys, let's go play Parcheesi. And they're all pissed off. Why? They said to him, "Are you going to rule over us? Are you going to reign over us?" Imagine Joseph saying, "What are you guys talking about? This was a crazy dream. It doesn't mean anything. Come on, guys. Are you?" No. They interpreted his dream as meaning that the products of the land, the sheaves, represented them and Joseph. There were 12 brothers. There were 12 sheaves. 11 of the 12 bowed down to the 12th. And they understood that the symbolism is that they would bow down to their youngest brother. And forget that. Smurf that. Smurf that, Smurf. We're not smurfing doing that. Okay? You get what I'm saying? Then he dreamed another dream. And he told it to his brothers like he didn't get it. "Behold, I had another dream, guys. After I tell you this dream, let's go play Parcheesi, okay? Behold, I had another dream. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars were bowing down to me." The sun and the moon and the 11 stars. That's what he said. But that's not what it meant. Because listen to what the reaction is. When he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you?" Even the father who gave his favoritist son the Technicolor Dreamcoat didn't like the dream. Didn't like the dream. Bill, at this point, there's just 12. Okay, we're not getting into Ephraim and Manasseh. Okay, don't worry about that. My point, don't misdirect, Bill. Don't lose your focus here. I'm trying to show you that the Bible is establishing a way to interpret its own language about the use of heaven and land together. Heaven and land. It is, in the Bible, a symbolic reference to God's people. So much so that when Joseph came and said to his father and his brothers, "I had this dream, the sun and the moon and the stars bowed down to me." And his father said, "Shall I and your mother and your brothers And Joseph should have said, oh, wait, hold on, Dad. Hold on, Pops. Ho, wait. I said the sun and the moon and the stars. I said the sun and the moon. And the dad says, yeah. I know what you said, but I also know what that means. I'm the sun. Your mother is the moon, and your brothers are the constellations. I know what you meant. I know what you're doing. Your dream means something. Your dream dreamed this, but this is what it means. Okay. Well, I'm not sure what... Yeah, that's still a... I don't know what that has to do with anything. But I'm going to take a moment to grab a bite of olives and cottage cheese. Are we all good so far with what I'm trying to lay down? Does everyone understand that I'm trying to lay down from these two passages in the same book, that this book is using the sky and the land as a metaphor for people? We okay? I think we should be okay. All right. So, what I want to do now is I want to work backwards. I want to work from the end back to the beginning. Okay? This is going to be a little bit heady. Going to be a little bit deep. All right, so let's go down here to Revelation. Oh, I got to go down there. Revelation 21. The first dream had 12. That's because the first dream was only about... Oh, well, then I guess that's just your addition. So, like... Yeah. Okay, so then I'm going to offer up this correction then, Bill. It's like what you're doing right now is like what Gilligan used to do on the island. Remember there were 7 castaways? And whenever Gilligan would count everybody, he would forget to count himself. And he would say, there's only 6 of us. Somebody's missing. And the skipper would hit him in the head with his cap and say, Gilligan, you forgot to count yourself again. So you're forgetting to count Joseph. Joseph is one of the zodiacal constellations. So there would be 14 instead of 13. Okay? All right. Here is Revelation 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new land, for the first heaven and the first land had passed away, and the sea was no more. Okay? So, what did John see? He saw a new heaven and a new land. Because the former, or the previous versions, passed away. They went bye-byes. So, John says, then I saw. And then John says, and I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. These two are a parallelism. A parallelism. That is, they're both saying the same thing in a different way. So that the holy city, the new Jerusalem, is the new heavens and the new earth. Or the new heavens and the new land. Okay? This is at the end. So we see a renewal of the people. Now, why does... Oh my gosh. Why does John use this phraseology? A new heaven and a new earth. Keep that in the back of your mind. Okay? But what I'm going to do right now is back up a little bit in the New Testament still to show you another book that talks about this change from one matrix to another. All right? And this is going to be in the book of Hebrews. Hebrews does it both at the beginning and at the end. Okay? All right. If you don't understand what's happening in the New Testament, that there is a transition from the old to the new. There is a transition from the old to the new. If you don't understand that, then you shouldn't be fighting with me. You should sit down, shut up, and take notes. And you don't have to agree with me, but you should be able to defend yourself in terms of why you disagree with me. But up to this point, if you don't know that there's this massive transition from the old to the new, from the former to the newer, then you need to learn a lot. So we see here in the book of Hebrews, and this is in the very first chapter, and there is a reference back to Psalm 102. Okay, so Hebrews says, "And you, Lord, laid the foundation of the land in the beginning, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment, like a robe. You will roll them up, and they will be changed." Okay? So the heavens and the land were destined to perish. They were compared to a garment of clothing that is going to be changed over. Now, what's interesting and problematic is that when we look at Jesus's words in the parables, he doesn't use, I don't think he uses the clothing metaphor. He uses the wine and the wineskins, right? He's bringing new wine, and he says you got to get rid of the old wineskins. He's just mixing his metaphors, which confuses a lot of people, but I'm here for you. He's simply using the same concept, but he's changing the metaphor. The wineskins are like the garments. The wineskins are like the former heavens and land, which are going to be changed over. Okay? Well, at the same time, Andrew, I think that you can still be a critical, if you're interested, you can hear what I'm saying, and if you have an interest in challenging or evaluating what I'm saying, then, that's, but please don't. The only time I'm going to come after you, Andrew, is if you start telling people that the Bible is a flat earth book. That's the only time I'm going to, smack your hand, right? All right, so let's go back down to Hebrews chapter 12 now, because it's going to be brought back around again, okay? Okay, so now we are reading at the end of the book of Hebrews, "For you have not come to what may be touched, a blazing fire and darkness and gloom and a tempest, the sound of a trumpet and a voice whose words made the hearers beg that no further messages would be spoken to them, for they could not endure the order that was given to them." Okay? This is the giving of the law at Mount Sinai. Okay? So, this is the warning of the gospel. "See to it that you do not refuse him who is speaking. Jesus is the one who is speaking to the new people. And the author says, pay attention to Jesus. Don't plug your ears. Don't stop up your ears and stop listening to Jesus. Because if they couldn't escape when they refused Moses, how much less are they going to escape if we reject Jesus? Okay? So here we go. At that time, his voice shook the land, but now he has promised, yet once more I will shake not only the land, but also the heavens. This phrase, yet once more, indicates the removal of things that are shaken. That is, the things that have been made or created, in order that the things that cannot be shaken remain. Therefore, let us be grateful for receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Let us offer to God acceptable worship. Okay? Now, is that the one that I was thinking of, or is it down farther in 13? Maybe it comes up again. Let me just look real quick. Yeah, basically he's describing the fact that he's like going to shake out a blanket, right? He's shaking out the old. He's getting rid of everything that's not going to remain, and then everything that remains is the new people of God. Okay, but my point is that at the beginning of Hebrews, it talked about the fact that the heavens and the land are going to be changed over, and here at the end, it echoes that again. That he is going to shake not only the land, but also the heavens. Okay? So, now let's go back to Jesus's Olivet Discourse in Matthew 24. Okay? And go to... Here we go. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. Okay? So here is a connection for you to make back to what I just read at the end of Hebrews, because the Hebrews described the event as the heavens being shaken. And that's what Jesus says right here. The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. The stars will fall from heaven. Okay? So this is talking about a, let's say, cataclysmic, world-shaking, world-ending event. And this is where the literalists run into a problem, because everything that Jesus is describing in Matthew 24 and 25, everything up to this point in Matthew has been directed toward one audience: the people of Israel, the tribes of Israel. It is their story, and Jesus is a prophet bringing them judgment. And he says, if you don't follow me, you're going to be the one that's shaken off. You will perish. Okay? So here's where the problem with translating the Bible's word for land as earth, right here. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. Okay? That is a problem. The Bible has no concept of tribes outside of Israel. Israel are the tribes of the land of Israel. So translating this as earth pushes that boundary farther than the Bible uses it. The Bible does not have a concept of tribes outside of Israel. Now, that doesn't mean that Israel can't exist out in the nations, which she does in part. If you remember, when the kingdom was divided, 10 tribes were dispersed out into the nations. And that's where the gospel goes. When Jesus gives the order to now take the message out to the rest of the world, it's not to the rest of the world. It's to the lost tribes out in the world. Okay? So anyway, what we have here is the sun and the moon. Oh yeah, I was saying was that if you are a Bible literalist, then you are going to say, oh, this hasn't happened yet, because after all, look, the stars are still there, the sun is still there, the moon is still there. This hasn't happened yet. But remember what I said. There's a difference between what the Bible says and what it means by what it says. And as we've been trying to understand, that the sun and the moon and the stars are representations of God's people, of God's system under the Torah. Okay? So Jesus is talking about the judgment that's going to be coming. When he comes again, or when he came again 2,000 years ago, because this story is over. There is no tribulation right now. We are not in the last days. There are no end days for us according to the Bible. Those days are in the past, because they were the days that came to an end of Torah being the tutor for the child Israel. Israel was supposed to grow up and be a man. This is what Paul says in, I think it's Corinthians. He says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I thought like a child. I acted like a child. But now in these last days, I speak like a man. Because Paul understood that those transitions were coming right now. He was in that transition period. Okay? All right. So, a needle pulling thread. I had you hold in the back of your mind where John got his idea of the new heavens and the new earth. John got his idea of the new heavens and the new earth from a guy named Isaiah. Isaiah 65:17 to be exact. Okay? So basically, John is quoting Isaiah. And here's what Isaiah says. For behold, I create new heavens and a new land. For the former things will not be remembered or come to mind. So, this statement right here, the former things shall not be remembered or come to mind, this is what Jesus was running up against when he came up against the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the lawyers and the scribes. That collection of 4 leaders as teachers of Israel, they didn't want to let the former things go. They didn't want to move into the future. They wanted to stay in the past. But here in the Old Testament, they should have known that their system was going to go through a transition at some point. And when it did, they should go along with it. Because as the writer to the book of Hebrews says, look, God already showed you back in the Old Testament with Moses and Joshua and everybody else that you don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit into the wind. You don't pull the mask off of Old Lone Ranger, and you don't ignore God's word. So if God punished his people in the Old Testament for ignoring his word, what do you think he's going to do to you in the New Testament if you ignore his word? What do you think? He's going to kick your ass. He's going to beat you down because he's your father, you're his child, and you're not listening. You're going to get disciplined. Okay? All right, I'm preaching. For behold, I create a new people. A new people. Oh, it doesn't say that, Travis. It says new heavens and new earth. Okay, well, let's keep reading. Let's keep reading. Okay? Remember what I told you before about a parallelism? Here it comes again. Oh, my goodness. For behold, I create a new heavens and a new land. The former things shall not be remembered or come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem to be a joy, and her people to be gladness. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and be glad in my people. And no more shall there be heard the sound of weeping or the cry of distress. No more shall there be in it an infant who lives a few days, or an old man who does not fill out a... Okay? But look and see what happens here. This is the parallelism that we saw earlier. There is a parallelism. The heavens and the land are parallel to Jerusalem and her people. Fight me. Fight me. That's a parallelism. They're saying the same thing. And then John says that in the New Testament at the very end. This is what's happening. John says, look, I looked and I saw a new heavens and a new land, for the former passed away. That's what this passage is saying. And John is telling his people, remember Isaiah? That's happening right now. The New Testament is all about the transition from the old to the new. And if you stay in the old, you go to hell. You perish. And by hell, I don't mean a metaphysical place. I just mean, I shouldn't have said hell because I don't believe that the Bible teaches the concept of hell. The word hell is translated from Gehenna, which doesn't mean a metaphysical location somewhere off where people's souls are punished for eternity in hellfire and brimstone. Okay? Anyways, what I'm trying to show you now is working backwards, right? I'm working backwards. We looked at 3 passages, only 3. There are more, but I mean, come on. I'm working backwards. Is everybody with me? Does everybody understand? You don't have to agree with me, but do you understand why I'm saying that the heavens and the land is a metaphor for God's people? Because the Bible does that. It just did it right here. Just did it right here. In case you want to look this up, I'll put this in the chat. Hey, what's going on, Robert? Right? Look it up yourself. Okay, now let's keep rolling it back. Let's go to Psalm, not Psalms. Psalms is the collection of everything, but we're going to look at Psalm 102. All right. This is the passage that Hebrews chapter 12 referred to. Okay, this is the passage that Hebrews chapter 12 was quoting, which means that this is a predictive psalm. Okay, here we go. Remember? What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. Okay. Of old. Okay, think about this. When did this happen? When? Of old. A long time ago. Once upon a time. In a galaxy far, far away. Of old. A long time ago, God, you laid the foundation of the land, and the heavens are the work of your hands. That's what Hebrews chapter 1 quoted. Okay? They will perish. What will perish? Heaven and the land. They will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment. You will change them like a robe, and they will pass away. But you are the same, and your years have no end. Okay? So, again, the writer of Hebrews quotes Psalm 102 because the writer of Hebrews understood that his Old Testament scriptures talked about a time when a great transition was going to happen, a great cataclysm, a great mud flood, if you will, where everything was going to be reset. And the Bible teaches this, and if the people of the New Testament didn't know it, then they were irresponsible students of their own story, because it's right here. It's showing that there was a time coming when the old would pass away and the new would come along. Okay, hold on. So, when did God lay the foundation of the land? When did God lay the foundation of the heavens? The only time that happened is in Genesis 1. And this is telling us that from the beginning, that which God began in Genesis 1 was destined to be changed over. That means that the heavens and the land of Genesis 1 were created to be developed and matured and glorified. Okay? Are you getting what I'm putting down? You guys aren't, like, nothing's going on in the chat. Does anybody have a question? So the one thing that we want to look at right here, which is interesting, is, let me see if I can do that. I'm just going to hop back to it. Because the writer of Hebrews doesn't say of old, he says from the beginning. Okay, instead of saying of old, he says in the beginning. You, O Lord, laid the foundation of the land in the beginning. When was that? In the beginning. Again, that which God began in Genesis 1 was intended to be transformed. And the writers of the New Testament are telling their audience, this is happening. What we were expecting, it's happening. The end is happening. The new beginning is going to happen. And the metaphor for that is the heavens and the land. But the literal heavens and the land didn't get transformed. It was a people. I mean, I think, hopefully I'm making sense. Again, you don't have to agree with me. I just want to know that I'm making my argument. Hey, what's going on, Aaron? I didn't see it. How long have you been there? I missed that comment. Okay. I'll try to answer if I'm awake. All right. Again, does everybody understand at least what I'm saying? Right? I just want to know that I'm being understood. And I'm not done. So, here's the problem with reading the Bible literally. In Christian theology, there is only one reason why the new heavens and the new earth, let me start over again. In mainstream Biblicism, I'm using that in parallel to scientism, that is, holding on to this belief in the Bible so tenaciously that you can't let go of it. You got white knuckles, you're holding on so hard. Your nails are digging into the palm of your hand. You don't want to let go of your precious little security blanket. The problem with mainstream biblical theology about why the New Testament talks about the new heavens and the new earth is because of sin. Okay? Because biblical theology will tell you that the creation of Adam and Eve and all of the animals and all of creation was perfect until the fall. And then sin brought in death, and then sin brought in the need for restoration. But that's not what this says. This says from the beginning, the heavens and the land were meant to be changed over. Before sin came into play. That means that when God created the heavens and the land in Genesis 1, he already had it in his plan to remove the old and bring in the new. Oh yeah, that's because he knew that Adam and Eve were going to sin. He already knew. Look, if you don't recognize the fact that you're doing your own mental gymnastics to make your point, you're begging the question, you're assuming you're consequent, I don't know what to tell you. Because the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible doesn't say, even though God knew ahead of time, he planted, like the whole infralapsarian and superlapsarian, those are big words, look them up. That whole philosophical discussion goes bye-bye. Doesn't exist in my world. When I teach this avenue of interpreting the Bible, no one ever has a philosophical problem. That's what happens when you deal with pseudoscience. That's what happens when you treat the Bible as literal when it's not supposed to be. Because when it's literal, when Santa Claus exists and he comes down chimneys, but we don't have a chimney, so then how does he get in our house? So then mom has to make up another metaphysical explanation. Do you see how this problem exists? Because guess what? Santa Claus doesn't exist, Johnny. And if Santa Claus doesn't exist, you never have to worry about how Rudolph flies. You never have to worry about how fast Santa Claus has to get around the world. Like all of those stupid tertiary issues go bye-bye. When you read the Bible allegorically, all philosophical and theological problems that come up from a literal reading go bye-bye. And that's called Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is more likely the true explanation. And just like flat Earth is simpler than the heliocentric model, the allegorical model is easier and simpler. It just is. So let me go back to the point that I was making. Hebrews 1 says, from the beginning, you established the land and the heavens. From the beginning, you established Israel. But they will be changed. When did God lay the foundations for the earth and the heavens? In Genesis 1. This and Psalm 102 Psalm 102, this is what I'm trying to say. The Bible gives you its own biblical theology. You don't have to create your own theological model. The Bible does it for you. You just have to learn how to read between the lines. You got to squint because there's a difference between what the Bible says and what the Bible means by what it says. Of old you laid the foundation of the land and the heavens. Of old you laid the foundation of the land and the heavens. When did he do that? Genesis 1. They will perish, but you will remain. From the beginning, God had a plan. And his plan was for the yellow brick road, the law, the Torah, the yellow brick road was supposed to lead these children into becoming mature spiritual men and women. Okay? All right, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to play music while. I hope, Robert, that you would take a little bit of time to evaluate what I'm saying besides just going back and listening. I mean, I get it, right? Please do go back and listen, but I only want you to affirm that what I'm saying is making sense. Okay, well, that's all I can ask, right? Like, you're the kind of response that I want everybody to have. I'm just sort of soaking in what you're saying. Great. But not like, I'm unsubbing from you. I don't even know why I subscribed to this channel in the first place. You don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't be teaching the Bible. Those are the idiot comments that people who are not like you make. And those people I have no use for. Absolutely zero. Right? It is the sign of an intelligent and well-trained mind to consider a matter without committing yourself to it. Just because you think one thing doesn't mean that you can't take into consideration what someone else is saying. Because if you're a truther and you're wrong, but you don't want to let go, and this other person has something that you need to understand, and you're not willing to, you are small-minded. You are a sheep. You might as well just go back to the globe, because that's what the Globers do. They are afraid of the truth. But here's two things that you need to realize. If you are interested in the truth, and you have a position that's being threatened by someone else's position, but you believe in the truth, then what are you afraid of? Because either you're going to see that you actually believe the truth already, because you can now eliminate their position, or your position is going to be eliminated and theirs is going to remain. But guess what that means? In both scenarios, you get the truth. So why be afraid of it? There's no reason. There's absolutely no reason. What's going on, Nuba? All right. I'm going to wrap it up if no one has any questions. Oh. Okay. At the same time, though, Robert, I'm not looking for people to agree with me. I want people to find the truth. If what I'm saying is true, then that's great. So, I don't know. Whatever. Well, I am wrapping this up right now. So, thanks to everybody who hung out. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section. If if anyone is watching this after the live and you have anything to add or ask me, please do so. And I'll try my best to treat you with deference and respect, as long as you don't act like a freaking globe flake. Don't be a globe flake in this discussion, okay? All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks so much for being a part of this exciting new adventure of rethinking Revelation on the Ubercast. Why is it called the Ubercast, Travis? It's called the Ubercast because it's the superest cast in all the earth. The Ubercast is the podcast your favorite podcaster listens to. That's why it's the Ubercast. And because of you guys. It's the Ubercast because of you guys. So let me wrap this up by saying 4 things. Thank you for watching. Please hit that Fonzarelli. Please make a comment in the comment section. And please share this content, because that's the only way this channel is going to grow. YouTube doesn't give a smurf about my channel's growth. I need you. If you don't watch, if you don't like, if you don't comment, if you don't share, then my channel is not going to grow. That's the way YouTube set this up. Okay? I need you. Like the flower needs the rain. You know I need you. Okay? All right. Thanks so much, Constance and Robert and Nuba and Aaron, if you're still out there. Bill and Maria and all that good stuff. So, okay? Whatever. I keep forgetting what I said, and I'm going to say the same thing over and over again. I am your host, Travis Finley. I have come to bring life and chew bubblegum. But I'm all out of bubblegum.